Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Magic Pill Monday. This time we're talking about L-theanine, and we're going to look at the science to see if L-theanine is a supplement worth investing in or if it's going to be a waste of money. Now, as the name suggests, you can find L-theanine in tea, and you'll find it in dosages of about 25 to 60 milligrams for a cup of tea of 200 milliliters. And typical supplementation dosages are 100 to 200 milligrams. So you could actually, if you drink quite some tea, reach supplementation dosages just by drinking tea. So you don't have to supplement. But if you don't really like to drink tea, and then you could, of course, supplement to get the benefits. And what are the benefits? Well, some of the reported benefits are calmness, anti-stress, anti-anxiety, improved sleep quality, and also improved cognitive performance. So let's have a look at the science to see if these purported benefits can be proven or not. So, firstly, how does theanine really work? Well, you ingest L-theanine either through tea or a supplement, and when it gets in your bloodstream, eventually L-theanine is actually able to pass the blood-brain barrier and end up in the brain. And what it does there is it increases so-called alpha waves. And these alpha waves, there are different kinds of waves in the brain, but alpha waves are related to relaxation, selective attention, and mental alertness. So that is what they hypothesize the benefits of L-theanine come from. So let's look at actual science. And we're going to look at the benefit of calmness, anti-stress, anti-anxiety first. So here we have a randomized control trial. Those are very high quality researches. And we have 30 people taking 200 milligrams a day for 4 weeks of L-theanine. And they are measuring lots of things in this study: stress, depression, sleep quality, and also some cognitive functions, in this case, verbal fluency and executive function. Now, all of these things were actually improved in the people taking L-theanine compared to the placebo group. And the study concludes saying, our findings suggest that L-theanine has the potential to promote mental health in the general population with stress-related ailments and cognitive impairments. So the general population, people like you and me, we are sometimes, of course, under stress, maybe because of work or circumstances. And it seems that definitely in those cases, L-theanine can be a helpful supplement and improve our situation. Here is another study. And in this study, actually, they saw the opposite effect. So they have 46 people here taking 450 to 900 milligrams, so very high dose of L-theanine for 8 weeks. And the study mentions the following. Results revealed that adjunctive L-theanine did not outperform placebo for anxiety reduction, nor is insomnia severity on the Insomnia Severity Index. In other words, in this specific study, which is also a double-blind randomized placebo-controlled trial, so also a very high quality study, they found no effect for L-theanine whatsoever. Now, in this third study, they compared L-theanine with alprazolam, also known as Xanax. And this is a drug that is often used to calm people down. And in this study, they found the following. The findings suggest that while L-theanine may have some relaxing effects under resting conditions, neither L-theanine nor alprazolam demonstrate any acute anxiolytic effects under conditions of increased anxiety. So what that means is that it seems that L-theanine, in this study at least, is able to increase relaxation when we are already at rest, but not when we are anxious. So actually, when we need it the most, it seems not to work, at least in this study. But strangely enough, the drug they compare it with, Xanax, also doesn't work. So that is a little bit of a weird outcome from this study. So what we see is that there's one study showing lots of benefits for L-theanine and two studies showing no benefits or little benefit of L-theanine. And so when it comes to the research on this particular benefit, calmness, anti-stress, and anti-anxiety, we can still not draw any real conclusions for L-theanine. The second benefit often reported about L-theanine is that it can increase cognitive performance. And there are quite some studies on this. So the first study here, they look at L-theanine of 200 milligrams, and they're testing it on 18 people. And they're testing the acute impact. So they're not taking it for multiple days. They're just taking this 200 milligram dosage and then doing some tests. And they write the following. The results demonstrate the significant enhanced activity of alpha bands, so these alpha waves in the brain, descending heart rate, elevated visual attentional performance, and improved reaction time response among high anxiety propensity subjects compared to a placebo. However, no significant differences were noticed among subjects with a minimal anxiety propensity. So in this study, opposed to the last study, they saw that only in people with high anxiety, the L-theanine had some benefits, while people that did not have any anxiety or minimal anxiety, they saw no benefits from L-theanine. Well, in the last study, we saw that it was the opposite. If you were in a resting condition, L-theanine had some effects, but if you were in a state of increased anxiety, there were no effects. So this is again quite strange and something to keep in the back of our mind. Here we have another study, and this was done on schizophrenic people, 40 in this case, and they were taking 400 milligrams a day of L-theanine. And the most notable result of this research is that they saw an increase in BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a compound that is related to the growth of neurons in the brain. So this is generally a good thing. However, it is studied on schizophrenic people, so we do not know whether this benefit also translates to normal, healthy people. Now, the other studies we're going to look at right now is L-theanine in combination with caffeine, because actually those are mostly studied together instead of separately. So L-theanine is almost always studied in combination with caffeine when we're talking about cognitive performance. So in these studies, we have 44 young adults. They're taking 40 milligrams of caffeine, 97 milligrams of L-theanine, and we read the following. The combination of moderate levels of L-theanine and caffeine significantly improved accuracy during task switching and self-reported alertness and reduced self-reported tiredness. There were no significant effects on other cognitive tasks such as visual search, choice reaction times, and mental rotation. So it seems that in this case, the combination of caffeine and L-theanine had definitely some positive effects on cognitive performance. In this case, accuracy, alertness, and reduced fatigue or tiredness. In the next study, we have 27 participants, and they're taking a little bit of the same as in the last study, so 50 milligrams of caffeine, and in this case, 100 milligrams of L-theanine. And they saw the following. The L-theanine and caffeine combination improved both speed and accuracy of performance of the attention switching task at 60 minutes, and reduced susceptibility to distracting information in a memory task at both 60 and 90 minutes. In other words, the combination improved speed, accuracy, but also focus because people were less susceptible to distractions. Here we have another study, and again, we're looking at 100 milligrams of L-theanine, 50 milligrams of caffeine, and they were tested either alone or combined. And the test in this case was a visual recognition test. And we read in the study that there is an increase in hit rate and target discriminability for the combined treatment, so L-theanine and caffeine, whereas no effects were detected for L-theanine alone. So this is interesting. It seems that once combined, there is a cognitive performance improvement, but when in isolation, L-theanine does not seem to have a benefit in this particular study. Now, a final study on the benefits of the combination. We have 250 milligrams of L-theanine in this case, and 150 milligrams of caffeine, so quite larger dosages than we saw before. And they were again tested both isolated and combined. And the study writes, in addition to improving rapid visual information processing, accuracy, and mental fatigue ratings, The combination also led to faster simple reaction time, faster numeric working memory, reaction time, and improved sentence verification accuracy. Headache and tired ratings were reduced and alert ratings increased. So we see lots of benefits of this combination in this study. Less mental fatigue, more accuracy, faster memory, faster answering of certain questions. So lots of clear signs of improved cognitive performance. Now, unfortunately, as with benefit one, there are also some studies showing a negative or no effect. So here we have a randomized controlled trial, and they're using 50 milligrams of L-theanine and 75 milligrams of caffeine, alone or combined. And they're testing lots of things, cognition, mood, but also cerebral blood flow, so the blood flow to the brain. And they write the following. In the current study, improvements to behavior observed following 75 milligrams of caffeine in isolation, irrespective of consumer status, were lost when combined with L-theanine. Therefore, the results presented here do not support combining a caffeine with L-theanine at the doses tested. So in this study, they saw an improvement in cognition and mood when taking caffeine alone, but as soon as they added the L-theanine to it, these improvements disappeared. So that is very interesting. In this study, they saw actually that L-theanine, adding it in combination with caffeine, was not a good idea. In this next study, we have another randomized control trial, and we have 200 milligrams of L-theanine, 250 milligrams of caffeine, and we're looking again isolated and combined. So here we read, caffeine increased self-rated alertness and jitteriness and blood pressure. So typical signs of taking a decent amount of caffeine. Theanine antagonized the effect of caffeine on blood pressure, but did not significantly affect jitteriness, alertness, or other aspects of mood. Theanine also slowed overall reaction time on the visual probe task. So what we see here is that caffeine has the typical effects that caffeine has, and theanine can reduce the increase in blood pressure that caffeine usually has, but has no other effect on reducing jitteriness or positively affecting alertness or mood, but also not negatively. So I suppose that the addition of L-theanine here is kind of pointless, except for reducing blood pressure. However, we also read in the final sentence that it actually slowed overall reaction time. So theanine had a negative impact on the combination with caffeine here. So taking caffeine alone was better for overall reaction time than combining the two. So what we can see from all the studies, again, is that there's quite some research showing benefits in cognitive performance, but then there are also high quality studies, randomized controlled trials, that show no benefit or a negative impact of L-theanine when you combine it with caffeine. So definitely something, again, to keep in the back of our mind, that it is not the case that we can definitely say L-theanine is always a good combination with caffeine and they are always good for cognitive performance. There's still lots to research. Now, the final benefit we're talking about for L-theanine is an improved sleep quality. We have two studies for this. The first study here was done on 98 boys between age of 8 and 12 that were suffering from ADHD or ADHD symptoms. And they were taking 400 milligrams a day of L-theanine for 6 weeks. And we read the following. Boys who consumed L-theanine obtained significantly higher sleep percentage and sleep efficiency scores, along with a non-significant trend for less activity during sleep, defined as less time awake after sleep onset. So definitely in these boys, it seems that L-theanine has a very positive effect on sleep, increasing the time they are asleep and also the quality of sleep. And here in the second study, we have a randomized controlled trial, so great quality, on 30 people for 4 weeks, taking 200 milligrams a day. And they are measuring the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index. And it says the following. The Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index subscale scores for sleep latency, sleep disturbance, and use of sleep medication reduced after L-theanine administration compared to the placebo administration. So again, we see a positive influence of L-theanine on sleep. And luckily, we do not have any research showing that L-theanine has no or a negative effect on sleep. So it really seems that, at least when it comes to sleep, L-theanine can be a helpful supplement, and we're quite certain about that at this moment. Risk and downsides. Actually, for L-theanine, there are no scientifically established side effects, and there's also no scientifically established upper limit for L-theanine. Anecdotally, however, some people report dizziness, headache, and nausea as a side effect from taking L-theanine. When it comes to dosage and quality, a typical dosage used is 100 to 200 milligrams, but in some studies they go even up to 400 milligrams or more without any side effects that are worth mentioning. When it comes to quality, that is not really a concern with L-theanine, so not something to look very deep into. So when to take the supplement? Well, we just saw that it could help improve sleep, so definitely taking it pre-sleep is a good idea. We also saw some evidence that it can improve cognitive performance, so taking it before a cognitive task and in combination with caffeine could possibly improve your performance on that work. And besides that, there are not really any interactions worth mentioning. So you can take it with a meal, without a meal. You can combine it with other supplements. We don't really know if there are any interactions, but there's nothing that seems to be interacting with L-theanine in a very negative way. From personal experience, I've used L-theanine many times. Most of the time, it does exactly what I expect from it, which is that it gives me a little bit of a sense of calmness and focus. Sometimes, however, I did experience some side effects, such as the dizziness and nausea. However, I do not know if it was from the L-theanine or the caffeine or the heat, for example, so I'm not entirely sure. I mostly use it for sleep, and in that sense, it works very well. And I've also used it in the past when I had an idea that I had too much caffeine, and then I used some L-theanine, and I felt like L-theanine could kind of reduce the negative symptoms of caffeine overuse, and I felt better after taking some L-theanine. So that's how I used it personally. And when it comes to the final verdict, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's great for sleep. However, for the other two benefits that we talked about, we did see some mixed results and actually some high quality research showing that it might not have the benefit that the other research showed it has. So there's a lot of doubt still on those fronts, and I think more research should be done to increase the grade for this supplement. Another thing that we can say about L-theanine is that it appears to be a very safe supplement. So in that sense, it's a great one. So a 7 out of 10, I think, is appropriate. If you liked that video, please leave a like. Let me know in the comments if you ever tried L-theanine, if you're thinking about trying it, what your experience is. And if you want to see more videos just like this, subscribe, and I will see you later. Thank you very much.